come around. Our light is now off. And we've just blown a fuse, so we've done something wrong there. Days and time to do some more work on the trailer. I need to wire up the switch for the water pump, tidy up all the switches. We can see at the back of the trailer one of the lights has fallen off. I still need to run the wires for this light here, and then just tidy up all the wires up on the roof. I ran out of the wire holders before holidays. I've got some more. So I can reroute them. Now you can see I've taken down the switch panel. It's getting dark because it's still hot in Dubai, so I've started a bit late. This stuff's kind of boring anyway, so I might time lapse it and then see how we go. And also it's quite dark in the trailer, so I'm not sure how much you'll actually see. If it's all wired up correctly, then it should work. It's been a month since I tested the switch upstairs, so let's hope it's correct, because I don't want to be doing that again. Also, I forgot how hot it is here in Dubai. Okay, that's all the energy I've got tonight. I've got this switch wired in. I've got them running into the pump and up to the power. It's already got a lean in it, so the toolbox was too heavy for it. And this one has slipped. As I've come across, I've noticed the bolts weren't even done up properly. So I'm going to cinch them up now, get some more bolts tomorrow, and then grip them down so this can't happen again. So I just got these locks on the back, so I'm just knocking the pins out, taking the locking tab out so that the drawers will open all the time, because I can't open this fully where it sits in here, and I want my kitchen enough so that most of your prep stuff will be up in here, and then the big pots and pans can be in the back. But really simply knock the pin out, straight out of there, pull the tab out. That's a long one, locks all the drawers. And the last short one. Okay, now when it's shut, I can still open all my drawers. Much better system. Okay, so we're back on the trailer. Really just small stuff to do. Now, I've done a bunch of the wiring this morning and tidied it up. So it looks a lot better, but I need to put the battery in, start testing my wiring. We can see that this light has fallen off, so I'll probably just replace it. That was an old one out of the truck. I need to wire in this light up the back here. I then need to bolt down the battery box, test everything once we come in here. I need to secure the cutting board for when it's stored. I need to secure the toolbox the whole time. I've tidied up the wiring up the top here. It's very hot out here, so I'm going to try and get some of the work. Also need to wire up the water pump and test it out. So I want to get the work done inside the trailer for as long as I can, and then I'll work on the outside, but it's stinking hot. Okay, so we just got the battery box placed in there so we can check some stuff. Okay, first light, good. Second light, looking good so far. We don't have this light hooked up yet. And we got an issue with the water pump. Okay. So the pump is working, but the light switch is on the whole time. I'm gonna have to have a look at that. It may just end up staying like that. Not a big deal that a little LED's on the whole time, at least you can see it. And you might be able to hear that, but that's working. And we've got power to the fridge, so the DC to AC inverter is working. It's going to stay on the whole time, and then I'll just turn off the fridge when I'm not needed, because I've got the dual isolating switch once I flick it up. So everything else is off, but the solar panel is still on. And then I can just isolate everything. Good for working on the system, even when the solar panel's plugged in. So the power from the battery should have been coming to this lead, going through the switch, and then going to this one. So I'm going to swap these two around, and then swap them around in the water pump, and that should solve our issue. Our light is now off. And we've just blown a fuse, so we've done something wrong there. The water pump's working for now. I'm going to leave it. I've got no issues with that because we always have troubles finding the switch at night. So this could work out better. It just means that I've done another 20 minutes work for no reason, as per usual. Okay, I've just finished wiring that one in. I've still got 2 spare fuses if I need it, but this light's in, the rear light's in. This one still in and working. This one's in. Inside, this is where the tools are going to be kept, so that's why it's been last priority. But the light is working a bit more. There's no real purchase on the inside, so I'm just going to put a small bracket on. Should only need one. They don't really do anything apart from stop stuff falling out, but you can see it's moving and I don't like that. And then I'm going to secure the toolbox. It's just going to have some brackets on the side, but I still want to be able to take the toolbox out, so it's just going to stop it moving backwards and forwards. It's pretty solid in there anyway, so it's not too big a deal. I then need to tidy up these cables and do them the correct way. So I'll get into all of this. Okay, so I'm going to redo this. A couple of things. I need 2 of these. The reason they're slipping is they're plastic coated, so it pinches down on the plastic, but then the plastic then gives way a little bit and then starts to slip. So a couple of methods. We can trim off the excess, and so we've got metal on metal with these, and as they say, never saddle a dead horse. So we've got the live end, or you can imagine the end that's on tension going to the load. In this case, the draw is the live side, and then my other side is my dead side. So what I don't want to do is, when I'm connecting these up, is I've got my saddle, is put my saddle on the dead side. I want the saddle on the live side and the U-shape on the dead side. Okay, so I'll fix those up. Okay, so I've got that cinched down. It feels really tight. I'm going to put some heat shrink over the end because now I've got an exposed cable. Load it up and then cinch them down again. I just hope I'm not going to run out of thread on them, because now I've changed it from a 3mm outer diameter, which these are designed for, to realistically probably a 2mm. See how we go. Okay, so I don't do too much work on this side of the trailer because it's just hard to get to. I've parked my truck next to it on purpose, so now I can swing the trailer round to the side. I need to glue in the light that I spoke about earlier, fix up the sideboard, secure the battery from this side, finish off the pump by hooking up the hose to the pump, and then do a water test later on this afternoon and see if we actually get some water pumping out of that thing. All right, let's do it. Okay, so as I was saying, I need to put a bracket on the back of the battery box. It can't move far anyway because it's hard up against one wall and hard up against one of these struts on the front side. And then there's not much of a gap between it and the fridge anyway, but just so it can't move backwards and forwards. I then need to finish off the water pump, just hook up the hose, trim the hose, hook it up to the pump, make sure it all works, throw in maybe 10, 20 litres and just do a leak test. And then I need to fix up this light. Again, this board has a little bit of movement. One bracket on the left-hand side should fix that. I don't like these screws coming through, which are the screws that are holding in the brackets for the wires coming down for the water pump. So I'll change them with a nut and bolt so I don't have any screws on this side. And then same for the solar panel. I've got 4 screws poking through the roof, which I just don't like. I'll change them out for nuts and bolts, make it a little bit safer. Okay, so I just completed a bunch of really boring work that wasn't worth filming. Like I said, I wanted to replace these screws with nuts and bolts, and same for the solar panel up the top. Put some screws on it. Yeah, they should have washers on the top, but at this stage, not too concerned. And then I just hooked up the water pump. I'm not sure if you can see down there, but I'm not happy with the kink coming straight out of the hose. And initially I was going to use this white flexible hose, and then I changed to the hose reel, and it came with this hose. I probably could have now moved the pump to the right a bit, but the pump was already in place. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it doesn't cavitate and just cause like a mini air pocket in there. We'll see how we go when we prime the pump and get some water in it. Okay, so let's fill up the water tank. I've just grabbed 18 litres of water. just out of water bottles. Normally a hose would run in here and I can fill it up, and then I'll just test the inlet, then the pump, and then see how it holds pressure and see what this kink does. There's a check valve underneath, so if I do have a leak, I can shut that up straight away. The rest of this area is going to be from my sleeping gear, tent, chair, table. I plan on putting on a mesh divider halfway so stuff can't slide into the back of the fridge specifically. That will mean that when I go to shut the fridge, nothing will encroach on that area, and that I can just shut the fridge easily without having to come back around to this side and readjust stuff. That should be all good. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so we can already hear that cavitation from the pump. That was from the inlet side on while I was priming the line, because I've got 50 foot. I had the cap on, so I'll just stop the pump, start it again. I don't have the correct hose fitting, so I won't be able to build up pressure, because it should be a automatic shut off. Oh, it actually does shut off. So far, no leaks in here. It's hard to tell because I sweat so much. You can hear it kick back in because, as I said, I don't have the correct fitting. I just grabbed my old fitting out of the truck. Sorry, just standing up the tripod. And then we've got pressure, and good pressure. Okay, so if I have a bit more time, I plan on putting another check valve or one-way valve in here. Currently it's in behind here, and it's just a hassle to get to. If I forget and I start the pump and then I realise I'd rather have something that's just flip this lid up, accessible, flick the valve over, and we're good to go. And that way when I park up, it's not a hassle it's not that much of a hassle to reach my hand in there, but just then it had seized in the locked position. So it was harder than I would have liked. Okay, also can't say for certain whether I've got a leak or not, because I dropped quite a bit of water filling this up out of that terrible system. So we've got water coming out here. I'll leave it for a bit. If it gets a lot worse and we've got a leak, if not, then it's probably the water that I just spilt all over the place filling up this thing. Best case, it's not a leak. I could turn the pump on around the valve because I cranked on it so hard. I'm a little concerned. The valve's down in here. What I might do is just quickly crank the pump back on and see if it's spraying out of there. I'll know straight away once it's under pressure. The water's not getting worse, so I think we're okay. I can't feel any leaks, and I can't see any from up here. If it's going to leak, it's going to be while it's under pressure. So I think for once I may have done something half correctly. Also wouldn't mind getting these wires completely out of the water. Genius. Okay, so now we're fully set up. The electrical system and the solar system. I've brought up the Bluetooth control or battery management system, so I can see how much power we're drawing. I've got a 3 or 4 position switch, if you count the off position, that I can isolate. Position 1 or battery 1 runs all my electricals. 1 and 2 runs the solar panels and the electricals, and position 2 just runs the solar panels. This is great for when I'm parked up. I can just switch it to this and we're good. You can see at the moment I am drawing, or my current is at 0 amps. Okay, so 12 volt, 300 amp hour battery. So I've got 300 hours at a draw of 1 amp is what that means. Up on the roof, I've got a 100 watt battery. Apologies, a 100 watt solar panel. 100 watt solar panel will provide me approximately 8 amps per hour. But realistically, we're looking at 60 to 70% of that. So between, 5, maybe 6 amps an hour, depending on dust, sunlight, angle of the sun. All these things come into factor. Now we can see on the BMS, or the battery management system, if I flick it over to position 1, so this is all my electricals come on, and I get a slight drain straight away. This is because I've got the inverter switched on all the time, so I don't have to reach over and physically turn it on. And the system up in the back flicks on as well, just momentarily. Together, they're not even drawing an amp, and that will drop down because that's just a quick spike. When the battery goes out on the rear, it'll drop even lower. And then if I flick it around the 2, normally if I was in the sun, that would start to level out as I get some charge coming in from the solar panel. Now if I flick on the lights and the fridge, now the fridge is currently turned off and hot. It's 34 degrees, and then we'll see a big jump or a spike in our amp draw as we come through. So now it's jumped up to almost 5 amps, and that's with my fridge at 34 degrees. When it cools down to operating temperature, realistically I'm drawing about 2 amps, which gives me 150 hours of working time with the battery system or setup that I've got. I've never run out of battery. I think I can do 3 days with no sun before I start getting concerned. It's a lithium battery. It's quite stable. I'll now just go through a diagram if you're wondering how to work out what your power draw is for each thing. And we'll see, before I do that, I'll just turn off the fridge and we'll see that amperage drop back down, and I'll turn off the light and I'll isolate everything. So I can isolate it by switching to position 2, and we can see straight away those amps start dropping down back to 0 amps. And once we drag this trailer into the sun, that'll spike up and we'll get a positive charge coming in. Very simple system.
Okay, so am I a qualified mechanic to be giving this advice? Technically, yes, it was 21 years ago since I stopped working as a mechanic, but it's 12 volt. It's pretty simple. Australia has changed a lot of their laws from what I've seen, and a lot of it needs a circuit breaker and isolation switches if you're running this attached to your vehicle, and your batteries will need to be vented if it's a sleeping space. So have a look at this before you put one of these systems in your car, specifically in Australia. Okay, let's quickly talk about charging power and power usage. Okay, first of all, we need to understand Ohm's law and the relationship between watts, volts, and amps. So watts equals volts times amps. As you can see here, volts would also then equal watts divided by amps, and amps would equal watts divided by volts. Okay, so charging power. We know that I have a 100-watt solar panel in my configuration and a battery of 12 volts. Technically, yes, it is at 13.5 when it's fully charged, but let's use 12 as our baseline. So amps equals watts divided by volts, as per Ohm's law. So 100 watts divided by 12 volts will give us the amperage, which is 8.33. Okay, but with the PWM being the pulse width modulation controller, which I have in the vehicle, you can work on 60-70% of that amperage. It is better with the maximum power point tracking controller. Okay, but on average about 5 amps we can expect. Okay, let's get into the differences between the PWM and the MPPT and what you need for your system. So the PWM, the pros, it's low cost, simple design. Some of the cons, it's less efficient, and it's best in consistently sunny places. So for me in Dubai, it's great. Also don't have a lot of charging power needed, so it's good for me. The MPPT, okay, it's higher energy harvest, so about 30% more efficient, more adaptable in changing temperatures. So think Iceland, where it goes from freezing cold to very hot during the day, depending when you are there. It's good for this. More compatible with high voltage panels. So if you're running 24 or 48 volt panels, your MPPT is a lot more compatible. The cons, it's a lot more expensive, more complex electronics inside running the system. So it's going to cost you more to replace. Really depends what you want. Now let's talk about power usage. Okay, on my system, I've got my lights inside the system. They are at 8 watts. Okay, amps equals 8 equals watts divided by volts. I like to work in amps because I know my battery is a 300 amp hour lithium battery. Okay, in this case, amps equals 8 watts divided by the 12 volts gives us a draw of 0.66 amps per light, noting that I do have 5 lights in there. Now when it comes to my fuse size, okay, so my fuse size is my amp draw. Give yourself a 25% safety factor. So my fuse size is 0.825 amps. Rounded up, a 1 amp fuse will do for a single light. I do have some single lights on a circuit. The other ones are dual lights, so I'll need to bump that up to a 2 amp fuse. Now the fridge, amps, that has a draw of 7 amps with the thermostat on. This is based off the user manual. So you don't always have to do the calculations. You can go to the user manual, and that's at 240 volts because it does go through the DC to AC inverter. Okay, my fuse size, again, 7 amps by 1.25, the safety factor. A fuse of 8.75, rounded up, a 10 amp fuse will suffice for my fridge. Okay, this is how you can figure out how much battery you need for an overnight trip or a weekend trip, and your fuse sizes for the different systems that you're running or different electronics that you're running in your system. I've been running this for about 2 years out of the F-150, so I know exactly what I can and can't get away with. Okay, the trailer is ready to be used. The next time you'll be seeing this, it'll be out in the desert. I'll do a full walk around and show you how it ended up. There's still so much more I could do, but I'm a big believer in 80% solution now is better than 100% solution when it's too late. What I mean by that is this trailer was built to be used. I want to take it out as soon as it cools down in Dubai and not have it in pieces in the garage.